Good morning. You're listening to Drinking Socially, the official Untappd podcast.
Your weekly look into what's happening in the Untappd community and the world of beer. This episode is brought to you by Untappd and the Untappd store. Use the coupon code PODCAST to get 20% off your next purchase. That's store.untappd.com. Coupon code is podcast. Save yourself some dough, grab some shirts, some hats, some cool billionth check-in things, a new glassware for that, shirt for that. And remember to like, subscribe, ring the bell, give us a heart, tweet us, regram us, whatever you like to do. Every time you do, a long-lost sock of mine is found. It just kind of shows up on my bed. So it's weird, but it's also great. So please keep it up.
There's a whole how it's made to be filmed yet about Harrison's lost socks. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Drinking Socially, where every Wednesday we walk you through one of the Untappd core badges and we talk about how they're earned. This week is a layup. I'm aware that not everyone has been riding the IPA train as hard as I have for the last few years, but for the majority of the last decade, Untappd has been ruled by the IPA. Your grocery shelves are full of them. The bottle shops have new varieties even as we speak. Your local brewer probably has one or two on tap. Unless you live near Chicago and you visit Dovetail Brewing, they have 78 beers on Untappd and none of them are an IPA. You know I love a contrarian and I'd love to taste their beer, but not on this episode. This episode is about the new religion of craft beer, the India Pale Ale in all its glory. And there's a reason it became so popular, and we're not even really here to decode that today. We're here to drink and celebrate. So grab any random beer from your fridge. There's a very high likelihood it's going to help you level up this badge. Harrison, what are we talking about?
That's right. Today, you, me, all of us, I believe in IPA, we believe in IPA, he, she, me believe, we all believe in IPA, but specifically the badge is the I Believe in IPA badge. It has a goofy history, which we'll get to in a little bit, but what you need to know, for starters, is the actual description on Untappd about this badge. It says, we believe in IPA and you should too. Check in 5 beers with a style IPA to level up this badge. So obviously lots of different kinds of IPA, and as far as John and I can tell, whether it's a quadruple IPA or a session IPA or a Cascadian Dark Ale, I think that even qualifies for this, also known as a black IPA. You're in. You're going to help tick away at this badge.
And one of the beers I'm really excited to drink and help tick away at this badge, if there's any ticking left for me to do, I was on a podcast recently. It's a Pittsburgh-based beer podcast called Hop Nation USA. A couple of guys, and there was a connection to Wilmington, so we were talking about the Wilmington beer scene, and I was touting my love for New Anthem and their domination of the IPA market in Eastern North Carolina, and they kept talking about General Braddock's. And I know what you're thinking, right? John, are you talking about the British officer in charge of America's 13 colonies during the French and Indian War? Or the 7 Years' War if you went to school in Canada? And I'll answer you, I am not talking about a historical figure. I don't think. I'm talking about a very highly rated IPA on Untappd called General Braddock's. It's brewed by a brewery called Brew Gentlemen. It comes in a really cool can Harrison showing off on YouTube right now. It's listed as an American-style IPA. It's 6.8%. Its overall rating on Untappd is 4.14. That's amazing. Ooh. That's like impossibly good. On Untappd, the description tells us it's a soft and balanced American IPA that you can always come back to. And we're very fortunate in that through friends of friends, we were able to procure a few of these interesting looking cans. Brew Gentlemen just started canning this beer not even a year ago. And I'm really excited. I see Harrison pouring it into the glass, diving into the aroma. So I'm going to crack mine open and let Harrison give us a real-time breakdown as he begins to enjoy his first sips.
Ooh. So yeah, soft and balanced. Absolutely. The nose is like all cantaloupe for me, which I've been seeing more and more in IPAs, juicy IPAs. The IPA of today, whatever. It's kind of crossing the medium now. These fruity, cantaloupe, forward hopped beers. But it is very. But then after that, a lot of them are different. Some are really bitter. Some are really heavy. Some are light. Some are fluffy. Some are orange juicy. It kind of after the nose, they can go a dozen different ways, and this one is like a big old pillow you're drinking. It's very fluffy, but there's a nice it's not overly sweet. There's actually like a drying bitterness to it that I'm getting, like a little bit. It's not hot. I would not call it very bitter. I don't know what the IBUs are, but there's something there to right. So you don't feel like you're sucking on an orange. There's a kind of it ends that hop forwardness that's kind of a little sweeter and fruitier. It's cut right off, which I really like. This is cool. What are you getting over there, John? What are you experiencing?
I understand why the guys at Hop Nation wouldn't shut up about this beer. It's okay.
It's
so
gone.
I think the can is smaller than normal.
That's what it is. That's it.
It's as Harrison pointed out, cantaloupe on the nose, like it's just bleeding. I maybe mosaic, but sometimes it makes me think of blueberries. But I definitely get that on the nose. But then the flavor, the fluffy pillowiness, I would almost say that that describes a good texture in beer, and that's not like I don't often use texture to describe a beer, but for this one, it hits that fluffy IPA right on the nose for me. But flavor-wise, it's like a bitter New England. That's not a real thing or a category, but it doesn't taste super juicy and cloying and sweet and lingering. It's like a New England West Coast, if you'll follow me on this adventure, where it does, for me, finish really kind of bitter and dry.
Yeah, it's very dry. But it's almost like, for what I'm getting, it's almost like it's dry, and I know it's dry because of the hops, but it's almost invisible. It's like, I wouldn't, like this would not, if I was drinking, Green Flash's West Coast IPA or whatever, like this, that probably, I think it's like 80 IBUs, something like that. This is not near that. But again, I think it's important to note that, like, if you're thinking that traditional New England has like 20 IBUs in it, this has more than that. So we're in between 20 and 80 somewhere, and that doesn't really matter. And again, we always throw IBUs under the bus, but never talk more about them because whatever, we'll get there someday. But I think
it's coming up.
The point I'm trying to make is that it works really well together. And that's, as I've kind of, grown in my beer years, almost the style of beer most nights becomes irrelevant. What I want is a cool beer experience. Like, show me something, say you're soft and balanced, and then be that. And that's what they've done. And that's really cool. Because anyone can say, it tastes like a fruit basket and a sunny day. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean, really? You're not really challenging yourself or me to actually say, hey, I said I'm going to make a beer like this, and I made it. And I challenge you to say otherwise. Whereas this beer is saying it's soft and balanced, and it's an American IPA, and I'm getting all those things. So that's really cool and a testament to them. And yeah, I could totally, right, if I lived in Pittsburgh, I would want this fresh all the time. This is also a good note. It's 6.8%. So this is like a everyday beer, after work beer, and it would hit that spot. Ooh, what a fun place. And it can happen. Just move to magical Pittsburgh and you too could enjoy General Braddock's. Although I have heard it can be tough to get your hands on it. So maybe not every day, but
for this being Brew Gentlemen's flagship IPA, it doesn't have they seem to be holding on to that kind of hard to get, like Treehouse Julius. That's their flagship. Still excited about it. then you look at some of the other breweries. I off the top of my head, New Belgium's Voodoo Ranger, or Sierra Nevada's Torpedo, or even like Toppling Goliath Pseudo-Sue. For me, still really exciting, but for anybody in their distribution area, they're like, oh yeah, I've had that a bunch of times now. I respect Brew Gentlemen for keeping this, maybe it's not intentional, but for keeping this really hard to get. A quick background on Brew Gentlemen, and I love hearing this. So it's run by a small team, really attention to detail focused, and recognized as a leading brewery nationally and locally to Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania for the beers they make. The founding story is there are two college friends who dropped everything. I don't believe they dropped out of college, but dropped everything mostly to carve out their own path in the beer industry. They've developed a reputation within Pittsburgh for making these kind of soft and balanced beers, which Harrison alluding to, like balance is really important. Food, wine, certainly beer. These guys set up 20 minutes outside of Pittsburgh, alongside one of the rivers in Pittsburgh that I won't try and pronounce, Monongahela. They're located in a renovated electrical supply front in the shadow of one of the first steel plants in existence in the U.S., which is like really cool, that brewery kind of revival industrial scene. And this beer was touted by Paste magazine as one of the top 25 most important beers of the last decade. Nice. So it's really cool to hear, too, for a beer that doesn't travel far outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and those guys, what they're talking about, Paste does some great stuff. If you haven't checked out their articles on kind of blind taste testing a bunch of beers, they do that all the time, and they're really cool the way they approach it. It's no one else is doing it, so take some time, and that to me means a lot. It's guys who kind of make a name for themselves, not looking at the name of your brewery and how hype you are, but just drinking beer and judging it just on how it's made. For them to say beer is important means a lot. So that's really, really cool to get those accolades. And I get it. I mean, right, like it's really good. It's just like delicious. It's soft. It's not overwhelming. It's easy to, right. IPA is like a rabbit hole for some breweries. Sometimes you can just go too deep and there's 20 different kinds of hops and a bunch of specialty malts, or maybe you add way too much lactose or not enough or too many hops. You triple dry hop and it tastes like a salad. And like, there's many ways to make a misstep and get kind of lost in, what you could do with the style. And I feel like again and again, the breweries I really enjoy are the ones that know what they want and they just go and they execute on it. And it's most of the time, in my experience, it's not the crazy 20 different hops and a bunch of different grains. The ones that are like 2 grains, here's a hop or 2, and we're just getting really good at it. And then that's what they're doing right here. So I'm digging it, man. I wonder if it's a single hop. We tried to find out what hops are in it online. Not a lot of info. It could be because they rotate around a lot, and they're just kind of going for a hop profile and the specific hop. They're able to float a couple in there and hit those same notes. I don't know. But anyway, just keeping my curiosity going more and more with this beer. But I'm going to need another one soon, it looks like. So that's always a good sign.
Harrison drinks all of his beers as if they're the last one he's going to get.
Yeah, that's right. You never know. A lot of buses out there, a lot of blind corners. Although not in my office yet. All right, speaking of blind corners, now horrible transition. All right, so we're here to talk about this badge because, again, chances are, just looking at the numbers, it's going to be hard for you guys to grab this beer. That's okay. We're talking about the I Believe in IPA badge today. So, again, like John said, spin around in your house and point to the fridge, and you'll probably find an IPA that'll help you move along if you haven't maxed out this badge already. And again, as the badge suggests how it's earned, just checking a 5 different beers with a style of IPA to get up each or level up each time, goes level 100, so that's 500 beers you have to drink to get to the top. And I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying this, but so far of all the badges we've done, this one has the most unlocked. More than 2.1 million people have unlocked this badge so far on Untappd. So that's pretty cool. And again, speaks to IPAs being a pretty big deal. We are in the age of IPA and probably will be forever. Although maybe maybe the lager's coming back.
Lagers are coming if as long as we keep pushing it and we'll speak it into truth. But more interestingly, I'd like to meet the people that have managed to check into a few beers and not earn this badge, unless you just only go to Dovetail or Red Oak or some of the more traditional style brewers.
Ballparks. But you're right, John. And in looking through the top beers, I thought this was really cool for a lot of reasons. So looking at the top IPAs that have, again, unlocked this badge, you're seeing a lot of names that we're all familiar with. Lagunitas IPA, #1, more than 25,000 unlocks just from that beer alone. Goose's IPA, Bell's Two Hearted, Punk IPA, which is everywhere all day from Founders, 60 Minute for Dogfish Head. So a lot of names you'd expect, beers that are available all over the place that are IPAs. But as John and I were kind of going through these numbers and talking about it, what's really cool is that there are more than 2 million unlocks, and Lagunitas' IPA, which is, again, the beer that's unlocked the most, a single beer that's unlocked the badge the most, only has 25,000 of those unlocked. So they're more than 1 million, almost 2 million, or more than that, 2 million more people, plus, or unlocks rather, that aren't that beers. It just speaks to how many IPAs there are out there, right? It's it's easy to grab one of these beers almost anywhere and check it in without thinking and realize, and start your Untappd quest off and have the I Believe in IPA badge be one of the first badges you unlock. But there are also so many other beers, just like General Braddock's here, that your local brewery makes. It's also an IPA. Maybe the majority of people didn't grab one of these couple, 10 beers and use it to unlock the badge first. It was something else, maybe local. There's so many IPAs out there. It's pretty cool.
That's true. If you're drinking local beer, and I say this all the time, I'm sure if you're listening regularly, you're rolling your eyes already because you know it's coming. But if you just started drinking craft beer 2 years ago, you could probably go a couple miles away from your house, grab an IPA that's 3 days old, and never even go to Lagunitas IPA. Yeah. If you're in Kansas, off of a dirt road, Lagunitas IPA is probably, maybe sometimes the best craft you can get. No shame towards Kansas. There's really good beer out there as well. But the further you get away from a metropolis, the harder it is to find that local beer. But it's really interesting that you could be a huge IPA fan and not have unlocked it through some of these, what I would consider classics like Stone IPA and Bell's Two Hearted.
Yeah, exactly right. Speaking of unlocks and beers, let's talk about how we are doing towards this badge. So, John, I'll put you on the spot. I Believe in IPA badge. Where are you at? What do you got for me?
This one, as I stated early in the show, was a layup. It did take me a while, though. I've maxed this badge out, and it was just recently, around last Christmas, I finally maxed this badge out with a beer called Sour Bay Pina Colada from Froth Brewing up in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
And I love it because it was like a testament to my IPA journey. I began on a hoppy, bitter West Coast road, and I ended maxed out this badge with an IPA that my mom loved. Right. So the whole style has transcended in the time it took me to max this badge out. What about you, Harrison? How are you holding up? Level 40 or so?
I too, John, have maxed this badge out. So we've done it. 500 beers is a lot of beer. I mean, it makes up, I think I only have about 1,600 or so check-ins. So, 33+% of them or so, not more than that, or almost that, are just IPAs. So it's a lot. It makes up easily the most checked-in style for me. So yeah, up at 100, I maxed it out again not too long ago, about a year ago, last May. I maxed it out. It took me a while too. With the Dog Haze of Summer from Bill's Brewing Company, which is a local brewery in Wilmington here. They do great stuff. They have a great fried chicken.
Got me excited when you said Bill's, but
I know they're good. They're good, cool dudes. And Yeah, so again, maxed it out. Happy to do so. I was looking at that list though, and Untappd, it was so many IPAs, which I've been no secret about. I love that style. Some sweet original dude. But like, I love that style. And I'm looking through the list of the beers I've had and the IPAs I've enjoyed over the years. I mean, there's some in there that I want to find again. There's some amazing IPAs that I've been fortunate enough to have. So that was nice to kind of walk down that memory lane. And I took it myself all the way back to the beginning. I just kept scrolling to see where it all began. And sure enough, about like a day or two after my first check-in on Untappd, might have been the same day, I unlocked this bag for the first time with one of the beers that 19,000 other people unlocked this badge with as well, with Bell's Two-Hearted Ale down in Charleston, South Carolina at the Griffin Pub, which is a really cool kind of dive. It's one of those dive bars that has awesome craft beer, which is one of my favorite places, where it's like dark and the ground is wet for some reason, but then like Pliny the Elder's on tap. So just not quite that, but they had Bell's Too Hard. I remember walking in, it was hot, and I was like, please, I'll take a Bell's, and snapped a pick. It was a good memory that I still have. I still kind of can put it together in my mind. So that was cool to go all the way back and see where it began. Did you do that too, John? Did you look back and see kind of what was number one?
I did. I think it's super on brand that yours was a Bell's Two-Hearted. I would have expected a Torpedo, but I'm not let down at all. I looked at mine, again, a lot of scrolling, but when I got to the bottom of that feed, the beer that I first unlocked this badge with is from New Belgium, but it was called Slow Ride. Yeah. It was a 4.5% session IPA, and it was probably like easier for me to enjoy that. I'm sure that's why I started there. Or somebody helped me make it my decision. I was at a Carolina Ale House, which is almost like a North Carolina version of Applebee's, if it were a little bit more beer centric. Yeah. And good times, I remember. New Belgium doesn't make that beer anymore. No. So I'm glad I got it when I did. Exactly. But speaking of like going back in time and transitioning and stuff, this badge has kind of a weird origin story. I know, Harrison, you were going down the rabbit hole. Tell us, like, what happened with this badge over time? Exactly.
It's very interesting. So it was one of, you remember, obviously Untappd started in 2010, and this was one of the badges in early January 2011. One of the first badges Untappd ever did. And originally it was a badge through a partnership with Hoptopia, which is a great name. But they were essentially like a UK kind of beer blog, and kind of in Bristol, and did a lot of like beer-centric events and things like that through Hoptopia, which is really cool. And so it looks like, back in the day in 2011, Untappd partnered with them for this badge. So it was the Hoptopia, I believe, an IPA badge. And to earn it, so Lee Williams, who was the founder of the now defunct Hoptopia, would basically selected 5 IPAs each month. That was the plan for 2011. He would select 5 IPAs each month that could unlock the badge, and all you had to do as a user was drink 3 of them. And so that month, and then you unlock that badge. So we're kind of, in all this research about Untappd's badge, is learning perhaps where the genesis of some of the more unique badges that are still around today, like the New Brew Thursday badge that requires you to sign on the dotted line and fax your badge to your local representative or whatever. All these crazy kind of requests, or maybe interesting and not straightforward badge requirements are coming from. So this one is 3 out of 5 beers in a month, but each month those beers change. That's where it all kind of started with Hoptopia. And the first 5 beers were Dogfish Head 60-Minute Bell's Two-Hearted, New Belgium Ranger IPA, so before Voodoo Ranger and stuff, the OG Ranger, Sierra Nevada's Torpedo Extra IPA, and then Bear Republic Racer 5, one of the best IPAs ever. So that was the first 5. It's pretty cool. And it's kind of tough to find how long this relationship with Hoptopia lasted, but I do know Then in October of 2011, so that same year, it's a couple months later, that partnership ended with Hoptopia, and the badge is going to be retired. But due to just Untappd users reaching out, probably just right to Greg and saying, please don't, I like this badge, this is fun, they kept it. And they just had new parameters, making it much easier to manage, but still a little unique, where now you just must try any 3 different IPAs within a 30-day period. So the list is not 5, it's any IPAs, as long as they're 3 different ones. Each time you do so, it levels up the badge, as long as it's within a month. So we're going to do a timeline and a number requirement, but again, a little closer to what today's badges look like, where most of them are check into 5X and level up. Although not all, as we continue to learn on this season of Drinking Socially. But definitely really cool just to look at Greg's old blog posts and to see kind of like the early days of Untappd and him exploring what badges could do and could be, and kind of trialing and erroring, and a lot of it, in this case in particular, the users themselves being like, hey, this is great, let's keep it around. And we did. So that was, and now it's easily, I think.
It's on easy mode now.
Right, it's easy. It's easier to earn, and it's probably the most unlocked badge, although with Untappd at home having the year it did last year, maybe that's different now. But still, a badge that pretty much everyone that's used Untappd has unlocked at some point or another. But definitely a cool history to it.
Yeah, there was a couple of people in the Facebook group talking about how they've maxed out the Untappd at home, and I think by proxy the verified adventure badge well.
Right, that's true. That's pretty funny. So let's talk about that. We got some verified menus to highlight, don't we, John? Something pretty cool.
I do. This week it actually comes from the Facebook group.
Perfect.
One of our friends, Jared, asked us to kind of give a shout out to one of his local favorite spots. Sweet. So thanks for the shout out, Jared. Today we're going to be featuring a place called, plainly, the Can Bottle Beer Shoppe in Winter Springs, Florida.
Nice.
It already, as soon as I hear the title, I'm like, all right, that's where I want to go. And Jared politely says, like, hey, would you consider these guys for a verified venue shout out at some point? Just started out. I really appreciate him opening a shop like this in my neck of the woods. He's about a mile from my house. He's carrying really good beer, and we definitely needed a shop and a tap room like this in Seminole County, Florida. Awesome.
Nice.
Cheers to you, Jared, for calling this shop out. And cheers to you, Can Bottle Beer Shoppe, for opening up in a place where people are, people need better beer selection.
Yeah.
And this is, I looked at it on Untappd. The place looks very much brand new. There's only been 44 Untappd users that have logged a beer in at his place. The tap list, which I love, was just updated like 3 days ago at the time we're recording this. That's always great. Like, if you keep your tap list updated, it's a great way to keep your followers, your local Untappd users, up to speed on what's coming and going. The tap list looks good too. Yeah. It's varied, mainly East Coast. There's Dew Claw, there's Weyerbacher, there's Bearded Iris, who we featured on the show. And from what I gather, in a note from Jared, and also in some of the check-in photos, they've got an Untappd TV menu up behind the bar, and I see a lot of bottles and cans getting checked in. Yeah. So if you live in or around Seminole County, Florida, keep your eyes on the Can Bottle Beer Shoppe, because I think they're about to update and put a whole package or can and bottle menu on Untappd as well. Ooh. So it's always exciting, like just spreading craft beer and making it easier for people to get, so you don't have to drive into the city to pick up a 4-pack. Yeah. Harrison, you're a pretty frequent Untappd user. Do you still get excited? Like, do you still follow and get pretty pumped when you get a pop-up like from your local bottle shop or a brewery where we just added so-and-so on tap or just got this in can and bottle?
I love it. It is. I know it's kind of wild, but we always joke that, working at Untappd, at the end of the day, we all go check in on it. Like, you'd think, it's my job, it's lost its mystery. Nope. Everybody that works at Untappd pretty much checks in almost every night. So at least often enough I think so, and I'm no exception. I mean, again, I don't want to sound like I'm drinking some weird Kool-Aid. I'm not. I'm drinking beer, and 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 happy to do it. And it really does what it's supposed to do. I mean, I was an Untappd user before I even almost lost John there, before I even worked at Untappd. And the fact that, I now just don't have to scroll through Facebook, Instagram, whatever, to find out who put what on tonight. I can just look down at my phone and go, oh, my favorite bottle shop just added this cool IPA from Westbrook. I'm out the door. Like, it's just great. There's so many beers out there to try, so many places you go and try them, to have some kind of, just some way of organizing it and keeping the clutter out of my mind that's already pretty maxed out on clutter.
It's cluttery up there.
It's very cluttery up there, as you can tell by me barely speaking. But especially if I was getting alerts like the people who are following the Can Bottle Beer Shoppe are getting, they have stuff on here. You mentioned a couple, but I mean, Serenity Now from Hidden Springs, one of their Fruit of Berliners, Hidden Springs is cranking out amazing beer. They have a Three Sons Doppelbock, which I'm jealous that I won't be able to get. And then a couple of different variations of Sweet Baby Jesus. They have Sweet Baby Java as well from Dewclaw. So
nice.
Right, I mean, this, yeah, right. And they also have Scrimshaw from North Coast, their Pilsner, which is one of my favorites. So yeah, like, right, if that popped up and it was 90 degrees out and I saw that Scrimshaw was right down the road and I grab a crowler of it, sweet, I'm out. I'll see you later with a crowler or Scrimshaw. So I absolutely do use it, and it really does kind of make the end of the day very easy, where I'm not searching to find beer. The beer has already found me. It's sitting there on my phone, the notification saying, here's where you're going tonight, because what you want is right here. And that's really cool. I wish more apps did that. I wish there was a pizza app that could be like, there's a new anchovy pizza, right, and it's ready for you. And I'll be like, perfect. I'll save me one someday.
So I wasn't looking for pizza, but thanks for letting me know. I'm now hungry.
Speaking of pizzas and beers and things, let's talk about something that goes well with pizza and all foods and all things, our best beers of the week. And I'm going to start. So I added a new lager to my kind of repertoire of lagers I'll grab at any given moment. It's called Lager Days from Noda Brewing. So yes, it's a new lager. It's an American lager from them, like 4.2%. It's amazing. So last weekend, John and I, or I guess 2 weekends ago now, John and I to host Lowe's Foods' virtual beer hunt, their first one with Noda Brewing. So what this is you basically, and if you live in the Carolinas, you know what Lowe's Foods is. It's an awesome grocery store. If you don't, it's an awesome grocery store. Now you know. But they have something called the Beer Den in it, like a bear den, but a beer den. You see what's happening. Virtual beer hunt, a beer den. But tons of awesome beer, and they have a place you can go get growler filled up in the store or grab a pint while you're shopping for macaroni after work or whatever. I love them. John, as you guys know, used to work at them before working at Untappd. You introduced me to Lowe's. I have nothing but fond memories of the kind of first weeks of moving to North Carolina, being like, hey, where are the beer stores, guys? And people being like, what is a beer store? Go to the grocery store. And I was like, that's where the food is. Where's the beer? And it was like a weird Seinfeld episode. Right, exactly. So anyway, so I'm hooked on Lowe's for life. But they've been doing these cool virtual beer hunts where it's basically a virtual beer tasting, and you can go to Lowe's, grab a box that has a bunch of beer in it, snacks, beef jerky, pint glasses, basically everything you need to have a really cool date night at home, or just a nice relaxing evening yourself at home, and have John and I, and in this case it was Chad, the head brewer and one of the co-founders of Noda, kind of walk through the beers, talk about it. It was a blast. It was really cool. And there's another one coming up. So if you're in any of the Carolinas and near Lowe's, you can be a part of this. So we're going to be talking with Edmonds Oast on May 15th. So hopefully, maybe we'll see you guys there. But you can go to your local Lowe's, grab everything you need to be there on May 15th and drink along with John and I. But out of that, I mean, again, we just did it for fun. And out of that came a beer that now I'm going to enjoy all summer. I was looking for it. I've said it every season. I'm always hunting this time of year for my summer lager. Boom! It came to me. It's amazing. So anyway, that was mine. What about you, John? What do you got?
That was a great event.
It was, right?
Chad knows Chad, it was like having a TED Talk with beer involved. Right. It was really cool kind of talking through him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And drinking the beers. And like I also got some snacks in my box of beer from Lowe's Foods, which that needs to happen more often. If it wasn't for this microphone, I would love to just be crunching on trail mix while we do the podcast in every moment of my life. But like when I'm getting married, I have insulin in one pocket and trail mix in the other pocket. And anyways, my favorite beer of the week, we drank a lot of good ones from Noda.
Yeah.
In that event, they had like a 95 calorie session IPA that had so much flavor.
Man.
But the one that first comes to mind comes from you, Harrison. You dropped off 4 beers from a trip that you'd taken recently. Pisgah Pale Ale.
Right.
Pisgah is a weird thing for me to say, and I always call it Pigsa, and my wife corrects me.
Yep.
But Pisgah Pale Ale is a Chinook and Nugget flagship from Western North Carolina. And Harrison was kind enough to share a couple cans with me. And literally a couple was needed because for this summer, I am digging up my front yard and transporting it to my backyard. And my wife has turned into a construction foreman. Yep. And when I'm done, I need really like an Advil dry hopped barley wine. But in the middle of it, I love crazy adjuncts. I want triple, quadruple dry hops, but there's also like functional work beers. And this Pisgah Pale Ale was just like, it tasted like 2010. It was great. Yeah. So thanks for dropping that off. That was a great beer, Harrison.
Yeah,
man. Well, let's drink. Oh, we can't drink another one. We'll drink another one in a week, right?
That's right. We will real soon sooner for some of us, but for all of us, about a week from this exact moment. So until then, if you guys haven't yet, make sure you follow us on wherever you like to follow things online. Follow us on Untappd, Harry Beer, Drinking with John, or Untappd John. We're all over the place. And speaking of next week, where are we going? What's happening, John? Something interesting.
Let's see if you can answer my riddle, Harrison.
Okay.
Why is it so hard to keep a secret on a farm?
Oh man, because of all the nosy neighbors. No, because of all the
that's pretty good.
I don't know why. Tell me why.
Well, it's because the potatoes have eyes and the corn has ears.
That sounds like the start of another Hills Have Eyes movie, some kind of terrifying... I don't want to ruin the end of Secret Window.
The vegetables have... Yeah.
Right, it kind of just did.
Anyways, if you're still with us and you're not afraid of vegetables yet, tune in next week, grab your pitchfork, get the old spittoon out and some jean overhauls. We're taking a trip to the farm to highlight Untappd's Trip to the Farm badge.
That's it.
Until then...
Yeah! Cheers!